Hillary Clinton is expanding her lead in the swing state of Ohio. According to our new CBS News Battleground Tracker out today, she leads Donald Trump there by 6 points, up from 4 points last month. And in Iowa, the race is even, with Clinton and Trump both getting 40% of support from likely voters. Anthony Salvanto is our CBS News elections director. He is in Washington. Kevin Sheridan is former communications director for Paul Ryan during his vice presidential campaign, and he's founder of Sheridan Media Group. He is also in Washington. All right, Anthony, I'd like to start with you. Talk to us about these Ohio numbers. What can we glean from them?
Hi, Elaine. In Ohio, Hillary Clinton is doing much better among Democrats than Donald Trump is among Republicans. And we've seen that in other states, too, but that's really at the core of this. Donald Trump is still yet to shore up that base that most candidates by now are going to want to have done that already. So that's one point. And the other is that Hillary Clinton has made some gains among women. So that's another thing that's put Ohio extended her lead a little bit, a couple of points now since the last time we talked to these folks. And last time we talked to folks in Ohio, there were some Democrats who were considering Donald Trump. Those have gone now. And so they're all with Hillary Clinton as well, part of that consolidation of her base that I talked about.
Kevin, let me ask you, Donald Trump came close to an apology this week, and he rolled out another style of campaigning. What is it that you saw in this latest Trump reset?
Well, I thought it was a pretty good week for him, actually. And, bringing in Kellyanne Conway seems to have, at least for the moment, given him some message discipline, shown a little bit of a different side than we have seen. The question remains whether or not that will actually make a difference and whether or not those suburban voters that we generally count on to win elections as Republicans will come back to him. And, that will be played out over the next week or 2 weeks when we see some new polling. And if he can stick to this message, the big question is whether or not he can ever stick to anything.
Yeah, and Anthony, we have looked at almost all of these battleground states this summer. Many of them seem almost less like battleground states now. Talk to us about that dynamic that we have seen play out here in the last few months.
Yeah, that's right. When we talk about battlegrounds, we usually go into the campaign asking which states could be close, which states could be contested. Well, at the moment, you see all of these states that both candidates really need to win. They're overwhelmingly leaning toward Hillary Clinton at the moment. And a lot of these states are actually outside the margin of error in a lot of their polling. And I'm talking not just about Ohio, but then you look at Florida, you look at Virginia, New Hampshire, some of these places we had thought might be contested. So that, that lays out a tough path for Donald Trump. So we wondered, well, if he's going to come back, and look, it's only August. So if he's going to come back, how does he do it? Where could he change minds? And we asked people, would you reconsider Donald Trump if he did these things? And one of the things people said, yeah, they might, is if he were to prove to them that he could be commander-in-chief. You may recall he's had a tough time on this measure. He's been low on this measure in a number of states. And another one of those things that people said, well, we might reconsider Donald Trump, is if he were to apologize to the people that he's offended. Now, one thing that may put him in a bit of a box, of course, is that that's what people who aren't with him would like to see. But for his supporters, they overwhelmingly think that he does not need to apologize for much of anything, Elaine.
Kevin, Reince Priebus said on Face the Nation it would be, quote, easy for Trump to regain any base Republican support that he's lost. Do you agree with that?
We'll see. I think it's going to be tough because, as you're just talking about, the threshold question has been and still is whether or not people see him as fit to be commander-in-chief. And if they've rendered a judgment on that and they don't see him as having the temperament to do it, I think it's going to be very tough for those people to come back to him. And the decision may have already been made in a lot of voters' minds. So these are good steps. Don't get me wrong. This is better than not doing it, I think. And I don't think he loses much of his base by looking apologetic or weak or anything. I think they're going to be with him no matter what he does. So this is actually, I think, a step in the right direction. I think we're going to just have to see if the polling bears it out that people can actually come back to him now.
Let's talk about Hillary Clinton. Anthony, she still has some hurdles despite these leads. What are her challenges according to the numbers now?
Yeah, she still has very low numbers on telling the truth. those really haven't moved, not in Ohio and not in the other states that we've polled, even since the convention. And she also has a lot of people, a majority of voters, who are wondering about her connections to donors, connections to foreign donors. And I think, Elaine, when you put all of that in a larger context, we went into this year. Voters were saying they wanted somebody from outside politics, that they were in large part fed up with politics as usual. And, it so happens that people who think that Hillary Clinton is connected to a lot of donors are also the ones least likely to think that she tells the truth. And I think this tells a larger story about, what people think of someone who's been in politics for a long time. And I think it also shows that the Clinton campaign, despite the leads, still has some real work to do on a lot of those key measures. That's a place where they still need to do some shoring up of their own, Elaine.
All right, Anthony Salvanto and Kevin Sheridan, both in Washington, thank you so much.